If you've been watching my channel for an extended period of time, then you probably have seen in various videos how much I like to recycle things for doll projects, for organizational purposes, etc. It's something I've always been pretty passionate about since I was a kid, and it's definitely translated into my doll collection as well as, of course, other parts of my life too. But today I'm going to focus on sharing with you some of the ways that I use recycled materials for my dolls, whether that's for like the dolls themselves, whether it's for like things I use for doll projects, etc. Some of this is going to be more on the crafty side, so if you're not a crafty person, maybe it won't be as useful to you, but then there are going to be some practical things too that don't really require any kind of crafting skills. Of course, like, I am not perfect. Doll collecting in itself is sort of an unnecessary thing. It's rooted in some kind of consumerism and materialism, and I of course have a very large collection, and I do enjoy buying dolls brand new, although I do, generally speaking, prefer thrifting dolls. I really love a good makeover. This is in no way to say that I am perfect and that I am always like the most environmentally conscientious, but this is something that's important to me, and I do feel like in today's day and age, especially like on the internet, there's so much like mentality of like buy, it needs to be new, everything needs to be aesthetic, and that kind of like DIY culture that was more prevalent years ago has sort of died out and has been replaced with like this need to consume and buy, and everything needs to match all of the time. That's not my motto in life. This video can give you some ideas maybe, and if you've been watching my channel for a long time, then you're probably already aware of this stuff, but I felt inspired to talk about it today, and I will show you examples of these things that I'm talking about, and like I'll show you the dolls or my displays or whatever. Recycled materials can mean a lot of different things. Of course, it can mean like the box art that comes with the dolls, or like packaging material that comes with the dolls. It can mean like food containers and stuff like that. Like as you finish a product, emptying and it's empty and you have like the bottle left over or the box or whatever. There's things like calendars that when you finish, they have like the artwork or the pictures, but you can't use it again for another year as a calendar. Bits and bobs that over time like you'll get as you buy things, or as people give you gifts, and these are all different materials that you can repurpose in some way for your dolls. One of the easiest things that you can do is recycle like packaging or calendars and stuff for your displays as like decor. I have pretty cheap shelving units for the most part, like 2 of them that I've really decorated. They were just $25 from Walmart, and I've had them for 10 years, and they're kind of cheap quality. So I decorated the insides of them with calendars, and sometimes I would even get calendars on clearance at Walmart if I really liked the pictures when it's like a few months after the New Year started and they're like more than half off and they have really pretty pictures. Sometimes I would just buy them with the intention of taking apart. However, I would say most of the ones I have on my display I have used before like as a calendar, and I just like cut them out, cut them down, and use them to make the shelves look a little bit more homey. And I've also done that with box art for dolls, where I'll like take maybe the tags that came with them, or the front of the box or the back of the box, and use it just to brighten up the shelves. My shelves I did repaint white, they came black, but I feel like it just adds more color and more personality, and it's really, really cheap. Like, you can tape it down. I use sticky tack. You could use thumbtacks if you want, but that's like a really easy way for decorating your shelves. So you can see here that like these are calendar pictures that I have from old calendars that are behind my Moxie girls. I also have them with like some Disney dolls. It just brightens up the shelf, and yes, that's from Costa Fierce's box. I used to have Monster High dolls on this shelf many years ago, and I took that plastic front of her package because I thought it was so pretty, and I've always kept it up. And then these are like tags that came from one of my Moxie Girls boxes. And I have like the actual back of boxes behind these dolls. You can't really see them too well, but you can kind of see it says like Moxie and Magic Snow. And I have a Bratz one too from my Hello My Name Is 5-pack. That is behind these dolls, and then some like other random things that came from Bratz packaging. I think it, like I said, just makes a cute little pop of color, and it doesn't cost you anything, and they look cool with the little calendar pictures, which I clearly have tons of. Of course, you can also use those same materials to make backdrops for dolls. So if you're into doll photography or like dioramas and stuff, I will take my old calendar pictures, box art, the posters that come with my Bratz dolls, or like I had my childhood Mary Kate and Ashley posters that I used to hang in my room. I have repurposed all of those as backdrops, and even the cardboard that I use sometimes for like the base of the backdrop is just leftover packaging from something. Now I do buy, I'd say, the majority of the actual cardboard bases. Those are usually, I just buy them at Walmart because I like them to be a specific size so I can use them for a range of dolls, so that they're tall enough for like my American Girls and can also work with smaller dolls. But I had some, the first ones I made were just boxes I used to store play sets in that I broke apart and I reused. Here's some of the backdrops I made with recycled materials. So the base of this is scrapbook paper, but all of the cutouts were from different magazines and things I got in the mail. And then I just added stickers to it. That's the same for these backdrops. This one is double-sided with cutouts, so this is like the fast food one, I guess you could say. We use it for like a restaurant background. You can see there's like a lot of Burger King cutouts. This one I had a ton of cutouts for. These were from like mac and cheese boxes. And then this is like the reverse side. This one is like produce cutouts. I have another one too that has like boxed goods, like cereal boxes and stuff. I use that for like grocery stores if we want a backdrop for that. This one was largely made with LOL box art and stuff. So yes, there's scrapbook paper on the back, but you can see like the cutouts from the pamphlets that come with them, some of like the sticker sheets. These were like, again, the little poster things that come with them. This was from the clear plastic design on the front of the box. That was from the box. That was from a box. Like, you can see most of these are just like little cutouts and things, and they're really fun. I love LOL artwork, so I tend to save like anything I can from their boxes. I have like a whole sleeve of new stuff too that I haven't gotten around to using yet on a backdrop. And then the reverse side, this is actually from a dollar store calendar that I bought and I used for a year. So yeah, it was like $1, and I got 12 beautiful images of flowers. And just for the record, my like photography style is kind of more surreal. Like, I don't care about everything being to scale. I like my dolls to feel kind of like whimsical and a little surreal. Like, it looks like they're in their own world, but it looks a little trippy. So I know my backdrops are kind of strange. This one has like posters. All of these came with my Bratz dolls. Some of them I had for years, and this was a cool way of using them. Like, I used to hang up my Punks ones in my room a long time ago because I got my dolls, some of them on eBay back in 2012. So this was a way I could use their posters for photography. And then this side has Barbie stuff. So this was like a back of a box. This was from Jewel Secret's Barbie's box. And then some of them are cards, old Barbie cards that my dad's friend Jimmy got me at a flea market. And I used to put them just like with sticky tack on the wall behind some of my vintage Barbies I had on display. But I don't display them anymore, and I thought this would be a fun way to use these cards. And then these are from old Barbie cases. Some of them like are in bad condition when I get them, so they're not really usable. But then I tried to donate like quite a few of them that I had years ago that were in nice shape, but they were very rude to me at both stores when I tried to donate them. I don't know why, but they were rude to me. So if they didn't want to take them, I wasn't just going to throw them out. So I took the artwork off of them, which is fine because they're all made with like cardboard bases, so they're not exactly like destined to survive forever, and they make really cool pictures. Everything on this one, this holiday themed one, was recycled. So these were like gift bags, Christmas cards that we got around that time, these like free stamp things that I got in the mail for some reason. American Girl catalog cutouts, magazine cutouts. Just, it's a lot to look at, but it's kind of cool, and I just had fun like reusing all of these supplies. You can see like both sides of the bag were used. And this side is from an old American Girl stationery set. I got it at the Salvation Army years ago, and I had planned to use it for something, and then when I started making backdrops, I thought this was so cool because this is like old book art, and it was really cheap for me to get that set. So sometimes you can find cool things like that. And I mean, I'm not gonna like mail out cards and stuff with American Girl stationery. So, and why keep it just sealed in the box? So we've taken so many cool pictures with this. And then I have a few for Mary-Kate and Ashley, and I have a bunch of Mary-Kate and Ashley box art I have yet to use. But some of these came from posters that I got with my dolls as a kid. They were in my room. These were magazines that my dad bought me when I was like 12 or 13 because he knew how much I liked Mary-Kate and Ashley, and I took the magazines apart. This is another Barbie one that has a lot of different like box art that I cut out. And then some of these were actually from an old book that I had. I show it in my doll collector books video many years ago, but it didn't have any useful information. It literally just had pretty pictures, and I ended up taking it apart and making a backdrop. More like things from cases. This was a skipper case my dad bought my sister, but it completely fell apart. So, yep. And then someone gave us a Barbie calendar once, and these were the little like thumbnails on the back of the calendar to show like what each picture looked like. So I have a backdrop that's the whole full-size calendar, and then I used all the little thumbnails on the sides. I've used those to like decorate notebooks and stuff too in the past from like other calendars. And this whole side, these are all pages from that Laura Jacobs book. I mean, they make a really pretty backdrop, and I use it way more than I ever did when I just had the book itself, because again, it didn't really have much like practical like identification value. It had none. It was just pretty pictures, and I took the book apart. So you can take books apart. Sometimes I get like old coloring books and stuff and take those apart. And then this last one is like more Brat stuff on both sides. So even this like paper back here, this is wrapping paper scraps that someone gave Colleen. They gave us like a bunch of their mother's stuff after she passed away, and I just reused those little pieces to fill in the empty space where the cardboard would show, and then the rest of it's like cutouts from Bratz dolls of mine or the posters that came with them. And the same goes for this backdrop. It's all just box cutouts, and the stickers came with a Bratz kids doll, and then posters. And even the paper behind here, this was from like a really old set of colorful computer paper that I don't even know why we had, but it had to have been like 10 or 15, maybe even 20 years old. And you can also use box art and like packaging, calendar pictures, and all of that. If you're someone like me and you, I guess you journal or you keep like a planner or something, I have like notebooks where I keep like doll ideas, YouTube stuff, doll projects I'm working on, and I decorate them with, this is like one example. This is the notebook I'm using. This is my like YouTube sketchbook. It's like just got blank pages and stuff. And I decorated this with like catalog cutouts, and the back of it, like the base of it's just some leftover wrapping paper. So I know that's not like exactly 100% doll related, but you can use like some of the pretty box art for dolls for stuff like that, whether it's like a notebook for your doll projects or not. Like my cookbook that I made is also decorated with doll art. I don't know, I just like collaging things. You can use it to make like a poster for your wall too if you have like empty space and you want to fill it out, because especially with like American Girl catalogs, they have some really nice quality photos in there. And I know they don't send those catalogs really anymore, but for a few years, like I would keep getting the same catalog in every package I ordered from American Girl, which would be a few times a year, but I'd end up with like 4 or 5 of the same catalog, and I would just use them for crafting, and I still have a bunch of those left over, and my sister uses them to make like cards and stuff too. And these are some of the different notebook covers that I've decorated over the years. So this was like wrapping paper, like I said, and American Girl cutouts. And then this one, this is for like my doll to-do list and stuff. This has like, this was a mini calendar. This was some free paper someone gave us. Box art from different dolls, magazine cutouts. This one here, it just holds loose paper. It was an old to-do list sketchbook, but when the paper ran out, I just put these loose leaf pieces of paper in that I use for like quick lists of things. This is all old catalog cutouts. This is my planner where I write when bills are due and when we have appointments and stuff. So this is like calendar pictures that I use. Then some catalog cutouts, and I also did the back of this one for more calendar cutouts, and obviously American Girl. This is the little notebook. It used to be mine. I didn't like it because it had lined paper. This is what Colleen writes photo ideas in and stuff. And I decorated this for her with, again, catalog cutouts. But then this here and like on the spine, these are from the front of scrapbook paper pads where they just show you the thumbnails of like what the paper inside looks like. And I always save those because you can use those little pieces for things. And then this is my cookbook, which is used, again, catalog cutouts. And I did the back too, and just catalog cutouts. I'm sure if you're familiar with like LOL surprise dolls, the little tots, like these cuties, they have some of the most heinous packaging. It triggers me, like I'm not exaggerating. I actually feel a certain kind of way when I get dolls that are like in surprise packaging, because it is just so much unnecessary waste, and also you can accidentally throw things out that belong to the doll. That's happened to me before, and it is like the most annoying thing ever. And very early on I decided that I wanted to find ways to like use as much of that packaging as possible. So I haven't used like the balls that they come in for anything. I have one that's in the shape of Hello Kitty that I use as a display. I'm sure if like you're a very like crafty person, you could probably use the actual balls for things. Like if you're in school and you need to do like a thing with all the planets, those would be great for the planets because they're circular and they're kind of textured. I have found ways to use like the tissue paper, and for the larger sets like my LOL houses that I have, or my like big pack that had like OMGs and tots in it, they come with a lot of little like boxes, like cardboard boxes. Like my houses, they were cute. They came with little moving boxes, and I saved the majority of them. Some were a little bit too big, so I used them for something else. But the smaller ones, I would take leftover wrapping paper I had from gift wrapping and like projects I bought wrapping paper for, and I would wrap them up as little gifts. So I have some more generic paper that's just floral. It's actually, you'll see it when I show you, but it's actually more of this sheet. I have that for like birthday presents or like just random presents the dolls want to give each other. And then I have some with Christmas themed paper, so that if we're doing photos or videos, you can see them a lot in our photos and videos. We have like prop presents. And I also have some that I kept just as is, where they look as they did originally, and that way like the doll can still open them if we want to like put something inside as a gift. And they do, like, a lot of the OMG dolls come with like plastic shoe boxes, but it's nice like to reuse the cardboard ones because you can wrap them any sort of way or decorate them any sort of way and use them as props. And of course there's like other ways you can repurpose them. They make great organizers too for sorting things. So in this container, which it's from the Oldie Multis lot we got at the flea market, it's just like a random container. I keep all of like those present boxes I told you about in here. So I have like some Christmas themed ones, then I have these like little pet ones that came with some little angels I got at the flea market, and then these are like some American Girl sized shoe boxes that Colleen got some of Courtney's separately sold shoes in. Yeah, some of the stuff just makes great little photo props. These are some of the ones that I wrapped in like leftover floral wrapping paper. You can see there's like just lots of ones that aren't decorated, that way you can use them for whatever. Most of how I like sort all of my doll stuff is done with recycled packaging of sorts. So I use like a drawer system for like my accessories, my doll clothes. The only things I store in containers would be like play sets and dolls, because they're obviously a lot larger and I have so many of them that I can't just like have drawers for everything. But for clothes and accessories, I definitely like the drawer system, and I have a whole video series on how I store things here on Tips and Tutorials playlist if you want like more in depth of that. I'll buy or get for free, when people put them out on the side of the road, those little plastic drawers, and then I decided to like make little dividers in them out of various packaging. I'll take some of those like LOL pre-made boxes, or like the American Girl clothing boxes, those are great. And then some of them I actually made myself, like I cut my own measurements. So I have one specific, I remember this because I got my little set of drawers around the time I got these dolls, but my Lagoon gift set, Ariel and Eric from The Little Mermaid, I took their box and I like actually just cut it and folded it into little trays that were the right size that I wanted. I also use things like mushroom containers, like the plastic containers mushrooms come in, because I make pizza from scratch like every week for me and Colleen. Like I make the dough myself, and then I put like fresh veggies on top of it. We always get like every week or two, we'll have like a new package of mushrooms, and I'll wash it and then I'll save it for organizers, and I have a little stash. And that's a great way to like separate your stuff without spending like a ton of money, because it's in a drawer anyways, like nobody's gonna see it. And I mean, I know it's nice, like everybody who does organization on like YouTube and TikTok and stuff now has like those really expensive clear plastic acrylic containers, and everything is labeled and perfect, and like yes, that looks nice, but you can get the same function out of something you've recycled. And to be fair, like those acrylic containers are horrendously overpriced, and they're just plastic. Again, it doesn't need to look nice to serve its purpose. Like, in fact, sometimes if you care more about aesthetic over function, you're not really being organized, you're making your life harder. Like if you're decanting things that don't need to be decanted. I think that as long as like what you're using can separate the stuff you need it to be separated, like the categories it needs to be separated into, it doesn't really matter if it matches. It like, I don't think about it when I open my drawers. I'm just looking at the cool stuff in the sorters. These are some examples of organizers. I use these margarine tubs. I'm kind of in the process of organizing some of my Barbie purses a little bit better, because clearly I have a lot. Not all of these are Barbie, but you know, Barbie sized things that don't have like a big enough category to require their own drawer. But these are all margarine tubs. And then we have Pepsi boxes. So these are ones that like I cut myself and I made dividers. We have a Ritz box. We have a smaller margarine tub. We have, this must be really old, because even back when I was using a dishwasher, we have really hard water here, so when our dishwasher died in 2018, we didn't bother getting a new one because it never really cleaned very well. But I was making my own dishwasher detergent, so this is probably like 15 years old. But you can see I have like some of those old dishwasher tablet containers. I think this one came from like an American Girl shipping box. Some mushroom containers. And then this is like one of the ones I made out of Ariel and Eric's box. Cream cheese. LOL surprise dolls also come with tissue paper. A lot of times their stuff is wrapped in like cute little tissue paper, so I'm always very careful when I'm opening them. I'll make sure to like unfold it without ripping it, because I have a whole huge bag of all of the tissue paper that came with my dolls. I've used the tissue paper sometimes like when we make fake gift bags for the dolls, or like if we're using the doll shoe boxes and we want to have like the tissue paper in the photo. Colleen's used them for card making, and I've used them for like backdrops and other crafting, because they're cool. Like you can lay them over plain paper and you see the design of the tissue paper. There's like so many neat little things you can do like that with the tissue paper, and it comes in like really small sheets too, so it doesn't like take up a lot of room. And I've also saved from some Disney store paper. I ordered from the Disney store like 4 years ago. It was like the only time I've ever ordered from them. They had like really good clearance sales, and I got my stuff in this really cool like Disney printed paper, and Colleen used it as like flooring in some photos we took of like the fashion packs I got. And so sometimes you can just use like the tissue paper box art and stuff just as it is. You don't have to like actually glue it down or anything. You can just lay it out and then put it away as it is. And we do that pretty frequently. Is that tissue paper from the Disney store that I got in a package. It's literally just puttied to the table in this photo and it looks really cute. I have a bunch of tags that came from Mary-Kate and Ashley branded clothes because I was huge into those dolls as a kid, so sometimes I'd buy the Mary-Kate and Ashley branded clothes and I would save all the tags because their clothes always had pictures of the girls on them, and I would make them posters for my dolls in their little makeshift bedrooms that I had as a kid. And I still have all of those tags and all of the little like cardboard inserts of the pictures of the girls that came with different dolls of minor fashion packs, and we'll stick them up with putty on backdrops and things for photos, but they're not actually glued down, so you can reconfigure them however you want. And you can just use the cardboard itself, even if you don't want to use the box art. That like paperboard that comes with dolls is something you can use to like paint or decorate on yourself. I have like an Aladdin painting I did back in 2011 for my doll display, and it's on like some kind of soda box, I think it's Dr. Pepper, and I just painted my image onto the back of this soda box. And then I also made paper dolls out of more of those soda boxes in like late 2010. I was like right before I got into collecting dolls because my sister and I were huge into paper dolls as kids, and my dad was sick at the time and I would be home like taking care of him while my sister was finishing her last semester of college because I was done cosmetology school, and I'd be taking care of my dad and there'd be all these hours to kill. So I would just paint paper dolls. We had this Raggedy Ann and Andy set growing up that my grandmother got us for vacation. She actually got us each one, but we like kept one new and then played with one until it got so bad that we had to open up the brand new set. And we just loved making stuff for these dolls. Like, I could make a whole video on Raggedy Ann and Andy. We had like hundreds of outfits we made for them out of construction paper and computer paper, and we would take like magazine cutouts and stuff, and we would make them like little accessories. And we were inspired by the artwork from the paper doll booklet, and I made characters based on all of the images on the artwork, and we gave them names, and they were like family members of Raggedy Ann and Andy, and we had like a character we made up all together. And I wanted to bring the mayor to life, so I made a version of him, and we had like several versions of them as kids. And then for some reason when I was like 19, I felt inspired to bring them to life with my better technical skills, and I wanted them to be heavier and thicker like paper dolls, like the actual dolls themselves, so I did them all on the back of soda boxes. And that's something like if you like to make paper dolls, or you have kids and they want to make their own paper dolls, it's really like you get all kinds of things in paperboard, cereal, soda, like so many things come in paperboard boxes, and they're easy to cut. They're pretty sturdy, and you can even like laminate over them with just packing tape to give them more durability. That was like so much fun. I had so much fun doing that project. This Aladdin painting is done. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I don't want to like bend it too much, but it's on a soda box, and I just have it tacked to my display. So these are the Raggedy Ann and Andy paper dolls I made just for fun out of the back of soda boxes, and you can see I dated them. Yeah, they're all in different like soda boxes, and these were the originals that were made on just like printer paper. There's 3 incarnations of some of them, so like this was the first one, and then this was the second one, and then this was the third one, so probably like 2001, 2003, and 2010. And they were all just made out of scrap stuff and some acrylic paint, and I still think they're pretty cute. And they're nice and sturdy. They're as sturdy as like the actual paper dolls. Actually, these ones are a little bit woe-begone because, you know, you can see they had to be taped. Like I said, you can use magazine cutouts and stuff, like those food ads. I have whole backdrops of just those cutouts that I got from different flyers I get in the mail. Colleen uses them too for like our pet scrapbook or different cards she makes for people, because they actually have some like pretty high quality photos that they send in different ads. Like if you get like a Burger King ad, they'll have like really good pictures sometimes of burgers and fries. So if you want to make backdrops or you want to have like paper doll food or something. Colleen and I used to use that paper food for our Barbies too. I remember like I would draw some and cut it out. Like we had tons of paper food. So that can be fun, like if you have kids and they want to play with things like that, or if you are like me and you like to make backdrops. There's so much like use out of those free things that you get in the mail. Dolls also come usually packaged with like elastics, and those elastics are great for doll hair. I don't know how many people have this problem, but for years I had an issue whenever I bought hair elastics. It didn't matter if I bought them at like the beauty supply store or if I got them Walmart or Kmart. All of the brands I used would last like maybe a week tops, and they'd start to dry rot almost right away, and they'd flake out of my doll's hair, and it was so irritating. And I found that the packaging elastics that they used for dolls worked so much better. They would last for years. I have some that are probably like 10 or 15 years old that my dolls can still use. I obviously found like a better brand that I can actually buy now. And if you don't have that problem even, it's just a great way to reuse those little rubber bands that come with dolls. Maybe not so much if you get them boxed and they're like out of date, like if they're 10 years out of date and you get them like at a thrift store or something. Those probably aren't the best to reuse because they're already so old. But if like you go to Walmart and you buy a doll now, those elastics will be good for a really long time. And you can also just use them for like tying accessories onto dolls' hands on your display, or like if you set up dioramas, or if you're taking pictures of your dolls. Colleen likes to use the sticky putty, but sometimes you need elastics. And one of my Mulan dolls has a recycled box elastic because she holds an umbrella on display and it kind of falls out of her hand, so I just use that elastic to keep it in place, and it's a nice way for her to like have that prop on display all the time. And these are all my doll hair elastics that I keep in the bathroom, and these are all in different recycled containers. These are Manic Panic jars, which I haven't used Manic Panic to color my hair since like 2017, so these are all old. I also use them to keep hair clips in. This is an old candy tin that has like those soft hair elastics for American Girls. We've had this since we were kids. We got that for Easter one year. And then this is like an old tea tin that holds metal clips for making hair accessories. And these are all, I think they were like from chicken bouillon cubes or something. My parents used to give these to us all the time. And they hold different hair elastics and stuff too. These ones were from Fish Line. My dad used to like fishing, and he'd always give me the empty containers, and you can see they hold different things. And some of these hair elastics in here, most of these ones were pulled from doll packaging. Something I use all the time, and this is like one of the greatest life hacks I have, is whenever you get like gifts from people, like gift bags, a lot of times the handles are made from like ribbon or fabric, or there will be like a fabric bow on something. I literally have like this whole thing. A lot of this stuff is just different handles and things that came off bags, and sometimes dolls are packaged with handles. So this is like from my big MC Swag doll. Lives on the shelf above my head. You can see it's like printed. It says MC Swag, but I used the back side for it. I used this for a headband for my Sage doll, and I just like put it over wire. And I have Bratz dolls that came with fabric handles, LOL surprise like present box style packages. Those are great for like hair bows that you can just tie into your doll's hair, or you can make them into headbands. You can use them in all different kinds of ways. Sometimes I can even like use them to trim a skirt or something I'm making, and you'd be shocked like how quickly you can accumulate like little ribbons and things. Every time Colleen comes home from work around like Christmas or her birthday and she has like her gift bags, I'm like salvaging all of the different handles and things because they are just so useful, and that way I don't have to like buy ribbon every time I need something for a project. I don't even remember the last time I bought ribbon because most of my ribbon was just from my grandmother or my friend's grandmother anyways, so once in a great while I'll have to buy ribbon for a project. But dolls are so tiny that usually if you want to make a headband for them, or like even a bow for an American Girl, you don't need a lot of it. So a handle from a bag is usually like the perfect amount. And they have some pretty cool patterns. I have some pretty cool little like hair accessories for my dolls just from the handles of things. So this is one of the newest bells in my collection. I got her at a thrift store, and her headband here, This gold ribbon was from the handle of a bag. It was literally just in my little organizer that has all just random scraps of ribbon, and the fabric flowers I got at Walmart, but like the actual ribbon is just from a bag. And even the wire that you can use it from old spiral notebooks. If you take the wire and then kind of flatten it out, you can use those to make headbands. This is armature wire she has, but you can absolutely just reuse wire too from things. And my sister's Courtney doll is wearing a hair clip I made. This ribbon is from an LOL surprise doll box, one of the ones that was wrapped like a present. I thought it fit her like 80s vibe really well. She's got a few made out of different handles from LOL packaging. And Poopsie Pets Avery over here, this is from, I think it was one of my music festival vibes Bratz dolls. It was the handle to her box, and I just tied it in a bow around her head. I think it looks really cute. And these are just a few more examples of headbands and stuff that I made from handles. The one from McKenna was a Bratz package handle. And then this is MC Swag's handle that I put flowers on. And this was a thicker quality handle that I obviously embellished with other things. Another type of fabric that you can repurpose would be like old bed sheets, shirts, and stuff like that, because you can use them for different sewing projects. I'm not really personally great at sewing. However, I make my own like potpourri sachets for my doll storage. Like old bed sheets that belong to my sister, these were ancient. I used some of this fabric to make Caroline a headband. So I painted the fabric purple, like I kind of stained it, and then I obviously added some embellishments. The bug things were from a necklace I deconstructed. I used most of it just for potpourri sachets, and it didn't even matter where it was really worn out, where she like slept all the time, because it was just for potpourri sachets. It didn't matter. Like you can see this side is pretty faded. A lot of times like the sheet sets you get come in little like drawstring bags, and I don't like store my sheets in those when they're not on my bed. I just like fold them. I have some that I made out of like those little drawstring cloth bags. And I have a whole doll dress I made for my custom Odette that came from old shirts that belonged to my grandmother. And growing up, my sister and I, we didn't have like a lot of actual doll beds and bedding for like quite a few years. So our doll bedrooms would be pretty much exclusively made of like recycled materials. So we take like boxes the dolls came in, and those would be the beds. Our parents would give us, or our grandmother would give us, like old washcloths that maybe had holes, or like random scraps of fabric, and everything would just be made up of these like random pieces of fabric. So even just for like doll bedding, and even in photos now, Colleen and I do have like a lot of doll bedding, obviously. However, sometimes we'll still use things like pillowcases or random scraps of fabric for like tablecloths or for like bedding, just to fit the vibe of the photo. And also sometimes just having like a big piece of extra fabric is great. Like I have some leftover batting from a project I did years ago, and we used it for snow for years. Like we would just lay it out on the table and put the backdrop down, and it was great for snow. And this is my custom Odette doll. She's my only custom doll I made that I have in my collection. So her whole outfit here, this is all just fabric from shirts that belong to my grandmother. It's not the best in terms of construction, but yeah, I didn't buy any fabric. I just took those shirts apart and sewed this for her. Hello, my name is Chloe. Her little headband here was just made from like a scrap piece of fabric that I just tied around. That I had that fabric since I was 12. I had attempted to make outfits for Samantha and Molly, and that never came to fruition, so I had some of it left over and I used that for a headband for her. The Ariel on the right side of this photo is wearing material left over from that same shirt that I used to make Odette's dress. Obviously I gussied it up with some lace and fabric embellishments and stuff, but that is where her skirt came from. And then the Elsa on the left, the Elsa on the right, I got this random scrap of blue material in my Barbie Star Traveler that I bought at the flea market. I washed it and I used it to make her a skirt, and Elsa is actually from the trash, if you must know. She was a rescue. And I've also used old doll stuffing for various things. I have this bag of stuffing. This is just regular like polyfill stuffing. This came out of my Kanani doll, my American Girl. I have a video on like how I restring American Girls, and I explained in that video that her original cloth body was like so paper thin because I got her used. Just from Kanani getting wet from me washing her hair, her fabric was so thin it tore, and it was like right where her socket meets the cup, the plastic cup that her leg sits in, and there was just no way to like put a patch on it because that had been my original plan, was just like sew a patch over the hole. So I had to get her body off of eBay, and it was just like the torso, but it came with the stuffing from that donor doll. And so I decided instead of throwing out Kanani stuffing, I would save it, and I've used this in like videos, kind of like cloud material I used for our Land of Sweets and our Christmas skit last year. I've also taken it and like put it in some of my other American Girls that were maybe a little bit skimpy on the stuffing. I'm going to be making a pillow soon for my Addie doll's bed, and I'm probably going to use some of this. So even though it's like used, I had washed it when I got Kanani, and there's nothing wrong with it, and like obviously this is like not the kind of stuff you just want going to a landfill, so you can definitely repurpose stuffing like that. And sometimes you can get really cool beads for jewelry making from different clothing items. I very vividly remember my sister had these like moccasin style slippers that she got from Walmart, and they had this like cute little beadwork on the top of it, and the slippers like fell apart. There was no saving them, so she actually took the time, cut the beads off, and give them to me for making jewelry for my dolls. I don't even remember which dolls I made those earrings from because they were just pretty like generic looking brown beads, and they were very tiny. Use them up on different dolls. I also have found beads like when I bought things secondhand. I had a vintage case of some skipper clothes from the 60s that Colleen and I bought years ago at the flea market, and there were these tiny little pearl beads rolling around, and I used all of them to make a necklace for one of my Moxie girls. And these are those beads I found rolling around that old case, and this is a necklace I made. It's really cute and dainty. Sometimes when you buy like secondhand stuff, you'll get kind of random crap with it, like different beads or old bracelets, and that's great for jewelry making. Like some of my favorite projects I've made for my dolls for like earrings and necklaces were just recycled materials, things that I found. Like I had a bunch of bracelets as a teenager that my grandmother got me that were kind of cheap, and I took them apart and made earrings for my dolls. And my friend Lisa used to use these air fresheners in her car that they had beads and charms on them, and then some of the beads were like scented. They were what held the scent, and she would always give them to me when she was done with them, and I would take them apart and use them for my doll jewelry. I have quite a few pairs of earrings. I can't even remember them all that have like some of those different charms and the scented beads, and they actually still sort of have a scent, which is nice. So yeah, sometimes you just have to think outside the box, like when you get something like that the beads weren't meant for jewelry, but if they're there, they're totally usable. I mean, you definitely don't need like hundreds of dollars of jewelry supplies to make cool things for your dolls, because I didn't have a lot of stuff for quite a few years, and even now that I've squirreled away a lot of things, I still love using my recycled materials. And if you do any kind of resin making for your dolls, there's all sorts of cool things that you can put in resin that are recycled materials. My sister makes a lot of cards for people. Whenever she has to like give a card to someone at work, she always makes it, and she hole punches the card so she can like tie it together with ribbon, and she'll save all the little like hole punch cutouts and put them in a bag for me. Use those for resin making. Like I've laminated them with some tape and then cut them into different like shapes and put them in earrings for jewelry. They are really handy. You can take old sprinkles, because sprinkles are sugar, so they're not going to go bad in the resin. I've used sprinkles in different doll resin jewelry, and that's really fun. Some of my favorite pairs were made with sprinkles. We make gingerbread houses every year with our dolls. If you watch my Dolly Diaries holiday editions, and I'm sure you've seen that, those are cool because there's always little candies left over, and we'll save the sprinkles for my earring making because they'll be like in cool shapes like snowflakes and stuff. So is wearing earrings that were made with leftover sprinkles to go with this outfit. I've shown them before. I think that they're really cute. These are examples of earrings I've made with random scraps of stuff. These tassels on Corinne came from some kind of packaging. It wasn't earrings. And then these Halloween charms on Valerie came from one of those bracelets my grandmother got me. I have loads of jewelry I made from deconstructed jewelry, so this is the only picture Then these two pairs of Julie earrings you're going to see, they're used hole punch outs, so little colorful squares in these ones were hole punch outs. And then all of this stuff in her jumpsuit earrings, those were hole punch outs that I cut in half and added in resin. And then Miss Kanani, she is wearing starfish that came from the air freshener charms that I mentioned before. I remember because they're really quite large. And then the teal, I guess like diamond kind of shaped ones on McKenna's earrings. These are squishy and scented. They came from that air freshener. And then these next earrings you're going to see on Magic Moves Barbie, Midge, and Tess. These little coil things I found in my mom's jewelry box for some reason. I don't know. And on the bottom here, little tubes and like circular plate looking things on Midge also came from my mom's jewelry box. No clue what they were, but I just thought these shapes were super cool, and I didn't have a lot of jewelry supplies at the time because these were older earrings I made, and I thought that they looked super funky. This Chloe doll, she's birthday Chloe, her headband is made from the like For You necklace that came with her. So sometimes you can get like those For You things that are targeted towards kids, and you can repurpose the materials to like make something for that specific doll or other dolls. So I just turned it into a little headband, and I think it looks really cute because it looks like a little tiara. For practical organization, maybe not just for the doll stuff themselves, but if you make things for your dolls, or even if you don't, like, you can recycle different candle jars and peanut butter jars, like mason jars, stuff like that. You can put like paintbrushes in, pens in, like most of my pens on my desk, because I have tons of different pens. I love pens because obviously I like writing different lists and stuff. So I have like 9-point Sharpies, regular Sharpies, I have a bunch of felt tip pens, I have regular pens and pencils, and they're all like in little candle jars that you just melt the rest of the wax out of. Pour boiling water into the jar. Then the wax will all kind of bubble up to the top and create like a film, and then you can take that off once it hardens and just wash out your jar. And I love candle jars because they're nice and like wide, and sometimes they have cool patterns and textures. All of mine were like pretty much clear, but I got one for Christmas one year that's red, and I don't even burn candles really, because we have little tiny critters like guinea pigs and chinchillas and cats, and they shouldn't really be breathing in the smells from the candle. But you know, if I get given a candle, or on a very rare occasion I want to buy one, then I can always use the jar. A bunch of peanut butter jars that I like to put my paintbrushes in, and that's all stuff I use for different doll projects. And yeah, I've shown these before, but I have like old candle jars for different pens of mine. My sister has a bunch of them out in another room for crafting, but I use these for doll stuff. Like my whole whiteboard is just for writing notes to myself about doll stuff. They're nice quality and they hold a lot. And then I have a bunch of like old jelly jars and peanut butter jars that I store my paintbrushes in because I have a lot of different sizes. Also, certain like gift baskets and stuff can be reused for doll displays. This one and this one were both like Christmas baskets we got years ago, and you can see they make a great place for some of my baby dolls to live in Babyland. And you can put like blankies in them too, but I didn't really have a lot of use for wicker baskets except for like putting my cat toys in for the cats. And you can even use like aluminum cans if you get oops and things. As long as you wash it outright, you can even spray paint them to make them pretty colors, or put paper around them to decorate them. And that's like a really cheap way to get nice sized organizers. Colleen and I have actually used some old like aluminum cans before as like temporary photo props. When we wanted there to be like a trash can or something for the dolls, those like aluminum cans are great as long as you wash them outright. And then when we were done with them, we just recycled them. Also use like the toilet paper rolls too for similar things. You can see we were going for like a street scene, and you can see in the left corner there's a soup can and a toilet paper roll repainted silver to look like a pipe. Like this guy is made from a toilet paper roll. I know this is very random, but Colleen, a long time ago when she worked at a certain after-school program, they did like crafts on Saturdays, and she'd always ask my help to like make the exemplar for what the kids were gonna do. So they were making something out of toilet paper rolls, and I came up with this scarecrow, and he's literally all recycled materials. This fleece here was like little fleece scraps that my friend Lisa gave me when she made a bunch of fleece tie blankets for Christmas as presents one year. She gave me all of the cuttings. The denim was from an old pair of jeans. The twine was left over from wedding centerpieces. The mason jars had twine wrapped all the way around them, so I pulled all of the twine off. And then the little like fake hay is all just shredded up newspaper, and then like an old popsicle stick, some more fabric. Like, you can make some cool things. I mean, I don't normally make stuff like this, but yeah, toilet paper rolls are very handy. So I'm sure there's like plenty of things that I forgot to mention in this video. I reuse things all the time. I'll reuse plastic bags and stuff I get as long as they're clean. My sister and I used to hoard Ziploc bags when we were kids. I think part of it too was like our parents, every time they would like finish some kind of food item or something that was in a plastic container, they'd always like call us upstairs from the basement where we were playing dolls, and they'd be like, do you want this container for your Barbie stuff? All our Barbie stuff as kids was stored in like the funniest assortment of little containers. We had like the fluff containers that had Katie's shoes, and I had like the butter cookie tins that my grandmother used to buy, and I would keep Barbie plates in there. It was just a random hodgepodge of what looked like food, but it was actually all doll stuff. I feel like because of that, whenever I'm like finished with something, I always think of how can I reuse this container. If like, can I use it? I don't always save the containers, but if it's something that's like a really interesting size, like a margarine tub that'll be great for organizing like Barbie's purses in, I will save them because it's free and it's just gonna get recycled or go to a landfill. So I hope this video could give you some ideas. There's so much like fun stuff you can do with recycled materials and practical stuff. I know not everybody is really crafty, and I'm sorry that a lot of this was craft oriented, but there's definitely like practical ways you can reuse things too. And I mean, maybe it's not for everyone. I know that like some people like everything to match, but I'm pretty cheap, and if it's functional, I don't really care what it looks like. You can also feel free to check out, I have a bunch of things that I've made on my Flickr. I have albums for like my handmade doll stands, earrings, and other projects, and a lot of those are recycled materials. Actually, my doll stands, the ones that I make, started out with recycled materials. They are made from baseboard, and my dad had a bunch of it left over from when he redid my bedroom when I was 16, and when we were talking about like how I needed more doll stands, he came up with the idea to cut those to size, and I have them in all different kinds of sizes for my dolls. And then you don't have to be fancy and paint them. You can just like leave them as like the raw wood color, or if they come primed, or you can just spray paint them like one base color. I have some that are plain because the dolls rotate who uses them. But you can also, if you like to decorate them, you can decorate them, and that can be a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite things to do with my dolls. Though I don't do it as often as I used to because I don't have a lot of room on display for more doll stands. But that's definitely something that's very practical with the material that you could have laying around. Or when I have needed to buy more, I go to the scrap bins at Home Depot where like people, they're cutting things down to a size for a project. If you just like look in those bins, they'll usually have like maybe like a couple feet of baseboard that nobody's gonna buy, and sometimes they give you a discount at the register. That's happened to me before, so that's always like a good way to make doll stands. And these are what some of the stands that I've made that I've made out of baseboard look like. A lot of these ones were scraps of baseboard I bought at Home Depot, but the first ones, like I said, my dad made out of actual scrap baseboard from this room. But you can see I have one for Arista here, and then there's a tinier one for my Tycho Ariel. I have all different like kinds of styles and designs, and you can even use them for guy dolls. Like my mini Jasmines are on some tiny pieces, and the best part is you can just repaint them if you want to use them on a different doll later, or if you don't like the design, like I'm going to be redoing some of my Disney stands at some point. You can just sand it down and repaint them, and no harm done. But feel free to check out my Flickr if you're interested in seeing like more pictures, because I'm only going to put a few examples of things in this video. Until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.